Hey, welcome, fight fans, to another episode of Before the Ballman Speaks. I'm your host, as always, Andrew Lawrence, and we are coming in live directly after the main event of Vitor Belfort against Dan Henderson. And shockingly, this one did not go to a decision, or the fourth round, or the third round, or the second round. This ended quickly, like I think most people did. My guest this week, before we break down that inevitable main event, my guest this week is a Canadian favorite of mine. Well, he's a favorite of mine in general, but he is also Canadian, so he's both of those things. He's both Canadian and a favorite of mine. He's Carlin Bardsley, joining us from all the way from the other side of the world, Taiwan. How you doing, brother?
I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's easy to slog through these UFC Fight Night cards, the pacing issues when it's Sunday morning. You know, I made myself a Jack and coffee, and I'm like, you know what, I'm okay with this. I don't need to go to bed. I've already had my sleep, so everything's coming up bards.
You know, I messaged you a little backstory for the people watching. I had my original guest drop out, and when I was thinking of who would be ideal to get on this show, I thought Carlin Bardsley, mostly because I realized that you'd be up right now, that this would be, you know, your Sunday morning routine. And then I realized what a lucky bastard you are. You probably, you know, you got breakfast on, you know, maybe cooking a nice omelet during the prelim section. You know, you can't be a degenerate MMA fan when it happens on your Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace, really, because I still get my Saturday night, you know, shenanigans on, and then Sunday morning, you know, oh, clear the cobwebs, what's happening? Oh, good, face punching, right? So I'm living it up over here. I am living, Livin.
The ideal state to take in an MMA fight is hungover, and I think that is basically what your Asian lifestyle is capturing.
My Asian lifestyle is capturing a hangover very well. Yes, you are correct in that, Andrew Lawrence.
All right, let's talk about this main event. It pretty much happened like a lot of people thought it would. I gave Dan Henderson a really good shot if he could survive the initial blitz. The initial blitz didn't really happen. Vitor kind of delayed it a little bit, but once he made his first real offensive attempt of the fight, it was all over from there. Did anything surprise you here in this main event?
I was a little disappointed in Hendo. I still thought he had a lot more to give, but he leaned in right into that head kick, you know. And when you do that, you know, just physics alone is going to fuck you up, right? So, you know, it's unfortunate that it happens. We all get old, you know, like some of us quicker than others, you know. And so I was kind of going with Hendo just based on old man solidarity and the fact that I still believe that his right hand can fuck shit up. But it didn't happen that way. I wasn't a huge fan of the stoppage. Hendo, on the replay, actually, Hendo did look out on one of those ground and pound strikes, but he came back right away. And we've seen fights go on longer than that, and it kind of bugged me that the MMA, you know, moral authority was getting all in and saying, oh, if you think that was an early stoppage, you need to stop watching the sport. It's like, fuck off, bloody elbow, all right? Like, I've had enough of you. Like, I think Dan Henderson has earned the right to go out on his own terms like that. You could see clearly he wasn't a fan of the stoppage. I thought, even for that brief second that he was out, that the fight could have continued. I'm not saying it would have changed anything, but I think Dan Henderson, in his career, has earned that right to decide his own fate.
Yeah, I'm not complaining a ton about this stoppage. When I watched the replay, I did notice though that Hendo was kind of with it in almost every single moment of it. He was very reminiscent of the second fight in that he really leaned into a head kick, and that really, you know, started the downward spiral. I think it's a detriment to his game. I think that Vitor won this fight no matter what. And like I said, I do think that Dan was kind of with it, but once again, I'm not crying about the stoppage. What I do want to agree with you on a lot is I'm really fucking sick of MMA media, like, almost as a sport, almost as like a hobby, having to take a moral high ground and like condemn all MMA fans for any belief that they, you know, they deem an inferior belief. It's like, God damn it, like, we follow you for analysis on a sport, not for you to tell us like what our ethics should be. And you know, I thank you for the golf clap. But I understand that you're a human being and that you know, are going to profess your beliefs in, you know, on an online forum, especially like Twitter. But like, show the smallest bit of restraint and like, don't just be a fucking social justice warrior, you know, preaching to us constantly. It's like, God damn it! Like, this is blood sport. We watch people. We're watching blood sport. Shockingly, we're gonna have some fans of it who aren't the most enlightened human beings in the world.
If you're a social justice warrior, professional face punching is not the fucking place for you. Let's just call it that way, you know?
Thank you. Good. I knew you would support me on this.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that.
Really, I think we can cover some good ground here.
I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Let's close out on the main event because I don't think that there's that much to say. But let's take a long-term view of it. Vitor Belfort. You know, clearly maybe he's not a title contender. You know, dad bod's kicking in deep, but he can still put a hurt on a lot of people at 85 pounds.
Sure.
What do you want to see done with him? I envision this fight only like, yeah, money weight, right? I only imagine like 3 more fights. What do you size up for him if you want him to win? And who do you size up against him if you want him to lose?
Good question. I haven't given a whole lot of thought as to what happens next for Vitor. Vitor is in that purgatory where you have to have him fight names, you know, but he's never going to sniff a title shot again. So what do? I saw someone suggest Tim Kennedy earlier, and I thought, yeah, all right, I can go with that. I can get behind that. I mean,
but do you think Tim beats him?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know, like I want Tim Kennedy to win, and I want Vitor to lose, like just on a personal level. So I like that matchup. You know, I think Tim Kennedy's a legit tough guy, and I think Vitor's a fake tough guy. So, like, there's a lot of interesting narrative play you can do in there. So, you know, as far as that goes, I'm like, yes. Okay, and, you know, I know this won't happen because he's tied down to the UFC, but I think the most interesting matches for Vitor are actually on a non-UFC level. Like, I would love to see this guy in the Bellator Legends circuit. I would love to see him fight Fedor on New Year's Eve, you know, like – that is the most interesting to me as a fan at this point. As far as promotional wise, yeah, clearly I don't know. Can you go up to 205 and I don't know, maybe do a heavyweight exhibition against Crow Cop or something? Like that's the kind of stuff I want to see Vitor do at this point. Just because like there's not a whole lot of new ground for him to cover. He's gonna lose to the tippity top of the middleweight division. I think we're all in agreement on that one. I don't want to see him just like line up, you know, tomato cans and knock them over. So we have to find something interesting. You know, honestly, if I could make any fight in the world right now for Vitor, I would make Vitor versus Michael Page at 85 or 205 or something.
Wow.
That would be that'd be the most interesting thing. I know it won't happen, but you know, I'm playing fantasy games. I'm halfway across the world. What do I know?
Listen, if we're gonna just wildly speculate about matchups, why can't we just do cross promotional shit? If they don't have to be real.
Yeah.
This is all fake. This is all illusion, people.
Yes.
What I loved your approach, pride approach, because you clearly just want to get a little crazy out there. But I'll double down on the pride approach and say, let's let Vitor start doing juice again. Give the guy a full juice exemption. Give every opponent he faces the full juice exemption. No one who's ever going to fight for a title again. You know, so just destroy your body because you're no longer relevant, but you are a prize fighter. So let's get you on some high-level juice. Throw you out there. Him and Crow Cop both juiced out of their minds. That's a fantastic matchup. I can't believe you thought of that. You deserve a small award, not like a big award, but like you know a small $500 grant and a mini trophy for that.
That's all I'm looking forward to life, Andrew. Really, you know.
A 6-pack maybe with the two.
Yeah, and you know, like it's you said you let him get juiced out of their minds. I did suggest him letting him fight in Japan. That's the next best thing.
That is saying that without saying that.
Yes.
Let's talk about the co-main event here. Glover Teixeira putting a world of hurt on poor Patrick Cummings. Durkins, whatever. It's one of the dumber names in the history of the world.
But yet not the dumbest name on the card, but we'll talk about that later.
It's amazing in UFC how you can watch something like completely batshit stupid and go, that's fucking dumb. But not the dumbest thing I've seen in the last 2 hours. So Patrick Cummins had some early success with takedowns. Glover popped right back up, and you could almost see on Patrick's face just like the oh shit realization that he was gonna get punched and punched repeatedly until he was done, and that's what happened. What did you see as the key to this fight? And kind of where do we go from here with Glover Teixeira? Because I think this is all about Glover.
Yeah, it is all about Glover. What I will say about Pat Cummins, though, is that he is a great wrestler, but he's got a terrible top game for MMA. Sure, he secured those takedowns over and over again, but what did you do with them? I am not a guy that scores takedowns just for takedown's sake. You know, if you're going to earn that position, do something with it. And Cummins looked like as soon as Glover's back hit the mat, he looked like he had no idea what to do from there. It's like, oh my God, I got a takedown. Now what? He literally just like you can see his eyes go, oh no, I got what I want. Now do I want it? Right? So I don't understand. I think Pat Cummins got into the game too late.
At some point, yeah, I wanted to mention that at some point, Patrick Cummins got back mount and had a position on him and kind of just like slid off. It was almost as if Glover just kind of bucked him off because he was riding a little bit too high. Did I lose you there? Oh no, you're still there,
Carl. Glover.
Yeah.
This was as Chuck-esque a performance as we're going to see out of Glover Teixeira. He'll give up the takedown, didn't really care. Every time that I tried to grab the guillotine, Cummins is like, okay, I don't like that. I'll change position. I'm not going to do anything. Glover's like, all right, fine. I'll stand up then, and I'll just keep hitting you in the face. That was vintage Chuck Liddell. You could almost hear John Hackleman's commands, like halfway across the continent, just counting out combinations, telling him, exactly how to shimmy back up. It looked like a pit level fight, right? So Glover, the trouble he's had is that when he's not all that into training, he basically garage trained for a couple of fights he looked terrible in. So light heavyweight is so shallow right now that Glover instantly becomes a name again in this title picture. I think what you do next with Glover, you match him up with Gus, because like really what else are you going to do with either one of them? And let's face it, I'll watch the hell out of that fight.
Yeah, I think that would be a good move for him. I think actually that Glover did garage train for this fight as well, which I think just brings more to the point that Glover Teixeira can garage train and beat, most of the 205ers in the UFC right now. And yet, still at the same point, never, no matter what he does and how hard he trains, be able to crack like that top 1-2, 1, 2, 3, maybe top 5.
Yeah, really, like let's face it, UFC 205, which was always their money division, is a steaming pile right now. You've got Daniel Cormier, you've got John Jones who's coming back, and you've got penthouse to the outhouse, right? So to say Glover can garage train to still beat most of the guys, I believe that, right? Other than, I think a fight with him and Rumble would be really interesting because they're just going to go rock 'em, sock 'em on each other. And let's face it, that's going to be fun to watch.
That'd be awesome.
I can't think of too many other matchups that I'm like, whoa, I got to see Glover fight that guy at 205. Maybe Vitor. We're trying to find something to do for Vitor. Maybe let him go up to 205 and fight Glover,
Sanctioned murder.
Yes. I love that short right uppercut of Glover's, though. I kept watching that the entire night, just going, yeah, there he goes. It's scoring. When my arm starts twitching, yeah, exactly, because he's got that left hook that lands nicely, and it kind of, had Cummins off balance, and right away, boom, short uppercut. I loved that, man. I love all day with that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wind up to that punch, but there's so much power because every time he got hit with it, it's just stagger. I think. No, maybe that was it might have been the uppercut that he landed when Ryan Bader had him hurt, and he ended up KOing Ryan Bader when he rushed in a little bit. But maybe that was the hook. Anyway, let's talk about a real prospect actually in the UFC, and that's Thomas Almeida. Had a really good victory, a solid challenge against Burchak. I think this was kind of the right amount of step you wanted to have him fight in talent. Burchak came out here and kind of put it on him early and looked like he was going to make a real fight out of this. But as the fight kind of progressed, you could see that Almeida was landing with a lot more power. He had a lot more answers and a lot more difference and unique offense that he was throwing at him. What did you think about Thomas Almeida's performance? Oh, did we lose Carlin? Taiwan connection. We'll get him back soon. Thomas Almeida actually really impressed me a lot in this performance, and I'd had a lot of doubts on him as a fighter, mostly because of his striking defense, his awareness when he's throwing hands. Sometimes he's so aggressive and so offensively minded that he is, leaving himself vulnerable to a lot of counterpunching. We saw it against Brad Pickett. Brad Pickett, who, while is a very good fighter, I think is clearly on his downswing and is not someone who, is as, is as good as he was when he was at his peak. The point being is, Brad Pickett isn't all that great of a fighter in the drop Thomas Almeida. That was a huge, huge question mark for me. Going into this fight, again, we kind of saw that he was, able to get hit quite a bit. He got pressed against the cage. He got, batted around a little bit. A lot of people after this fight were calling for Almeida against John Lineker. I think that's a nightmare matchup for him at this place. And if the UFC wants to get another Brazilian champion, especially in these lower weight classes, which I think is a brilliant strategy by them, they would be very smart to scale back Almeida or not put Almeida into a matchup with someone like a John Lineker. John Lineker just has too much power and is too much of a wild card, especially if you want to bring Almeida along slowly and get him into a situation where you can have him fight for a title maybe in a year, maybe in a year and a half. I think you would have your most chance of success with Almeida because he's a really good matchup against TJ Dillashaw. I think it would be a really great matchup if you really let him have that in sometime in 2016, maybe like the summer of 2016. Carlin, we got you back. I was just breaking down Almeida against Burchak. A really solid victory for him. What did you think about it?
Yeah, Thomas Almeida, I caught most of what you were saying there. I mean, Thomas Almeida, he is kind of the next big thing, like it's at bantamweight. How do you not love that guy? I mean, really, he just keeps doing it, And Anthony Burchak, James Lynch picked Anthony Burchak going in this fight, and I have no problem with that. I think Anthony Burchak is actually a really, really good fighter. But, you could tell that, in his comments to the lead up to this fight, he kept saying, I'm going to be more careful. I'm going to be more careful. He was not more careful, and it showed. And Almeida just had the opportunity and just, he has that, that KO power of bantamweight that not a lot of guys have. There's people speculating that he should fight Uriah Faber next. Uriah Faber is in a placeholder fight right now against Frankie, blinded me with Zions. And I don't know if it'll actually happen or not. I think UFC made that fight strictly so if Jose Aldo falls apart, they can just insert Uriah Faber into that spot. But if that fight comes off, then great. I still think you can do Uriah Faber and Thomas Almeida next. You need something to take Almeida to that next level. I understand what you're saying about bringing him along slowly, but at the same time, like, I don't know, there's not a whole lot of fights at bantamweight that are incredibly intriguing, to be quite honest with you. That is one of them. So I think you got to take the money while it's there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good fight as the as the title eliminator almost for Almeida. I think you still probably have time to get one more fight under his belt, and just with delays, and a guy like Uriah Faber isn't going to fight at, all that much. He's not a 4-fight-a-year guy. In fact, as he gets older, I think we're going to see him become more of a 2-fight-a-year guy, which is perfect. So if you let Uriah have this fight, maybe you get another fight, you can make that matchup happen in December, and then line yourself up for maybe a title fight halfway through next year. With guys that young, a year and a half of growth, especially out of camp training, he could maybe hold up, that striking defense that's kind of been his Achilles heel.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like Thomas Almeida is one of those guys that his ceiling is just so high. He's got so much potential. He can, just go out there and put a hurting on a guy in a way you haven't seen yet, right? So for him to just spend 6 months in the gym honing his craft and then put it on the line against a guy that's world class like Uriah Faber, like I guess prohibitively you have to call Faber the favorite just based on history, but at the same time, Thomas Almeida, he's going to be so good. It's just a question of when. So let him test himself. Faber doesn't have a whole lot of time left either.
Yeah, and there's always the fact that a loss in the sport is not a career determiner, which is probably one of the better things about MMA and the sport in general. So even if he does take that loss,
what's the worst thing you're going to say about Thomas Almeida if this fight goes wrong? What's the worst thing you'll say? Oh, he lost to Uriah Faber, who's maybe the best in that weight division ever. Oh well, I guess he's fucked now, right?
Yeah, he'll never have a career.
Yeah.
So big things for him. I'm not so down on Burchak. I think despite the fact that he lost and got stopped, this was a really good showing by him in a weird way. Am I completely foolish in thinking that, or are you with me on this at all?
No, not at all. I'm with you on that one. I mean, Burchak looked really good up until the time that he got knocked out. Those last 10 seconds. He looked pretty good, right? But, that's what I was trying to say earlier is that, Burchak, I'm going to be more careful. I'm going to be more careful. But he can't help himself. He just wants to get in and get after it. And when he decided to, fuck you, I'm swinging, that's when he got caught, right?
Yeah, that's a young fighter move, and I think it's one of those things that if you're going to grow as a fighter, you're probably going to have that experience, so might as well go through it now. And really, the test of him and his longevity for being a contender in his career will be if he can rebound and correct those mistakes.
This was a learning experience for Anthony Burchak. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. Before this, we had the first KO of the night, which kind of started off our 4 KO finish of the night, which really, by the way, spruced up this card because we were hitting a little bit of a little lull in the energy there for a while. The Brazilian Cowboy, Alex Oliveira. Yeah, sure. Alex Oliveira.
I say it anyway.
Whatever. He beat the shit out of this poor Polish Piotr Holman. Super impressive, well, not super impressive finish. Impressive in the fact that he really dominated in the first round, gave away the second one, and just kind of let it, slide off his back and got out there in the third round and put it on him. A solid finish, but against a kind of, mediocre, probably cut fighter in Hallman. What did you think about the Brazilian Cowboy there?
It was a showcase fight, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You need showcase fights, to build the highlight reel, to get people interested in wanting to see him fight a top-level opponent. I think Alex Oliveira did exactly what he had to do. He looked impressive doing it. And there's a reason I keep calling this guy Donald Cerrone's non-union Brazilian equivalent. It's not just that they share the same nickname. I look at Oliveira, he's basically budget Cerrone at this point, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as a compliment. And he's going to keep coming along, and he's going to keep going out there and doing his thing. And yeah, okay, this wasn't, the most. I don't even want to say worthy because I don't want to feel like I'm slagging Hallman, but the most competitive opponent he could have been matched up with. But all that means is that his stock went up a little bit more for when they do match him up with one of the elite at 155.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here. I think this is a great placeholder fight. I'm glad that he got that highlight finish because it looked like for a little bit in the second there that that fight IQ was going to be was going to be a detriment, and now he's on this fantastic momentum roll, and I think now you can begin to take a fighter like that almost out of that Brazilian circuit. That like, hey, UFC's going to Brazil 5 times a year. You could get 2 fights a year there and be a UFC fighter that literally never fights anywhere but Brazil. You're not like an international draw. You're just kind of like, hey, I got a Brazilian guy here.
Local boy, yeah.
Yeah, if you get a couple more wins like this, now, maybe you'll be brought in, maybe as an underdog, maybe, as a very high jump, in opponent, but you might get drawn into like a Vegas card, you make a showcase finish in one of those, then you have a real career as as a legit name in the sport.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think Alex Oliveira has proved that he's worthy of being risen to that level now. Give him a real contender. Give him a real ranked fight. Not even ranked, because I don't want to get into UFC rankings. That'll just piss me off. But yeah, give him someone that we know. Give him someone that is going to present a real challenge to him, and let's see if he can cover the holes in his game that way. Then we'll know if Alex Oliveira is on that sink or swim level, and he's earned the right to prove that.
Yeah, I think there's a huge problem with kind of all this tough Brazil stuff happening, and that there's all these all this young talent out there is kind of like just tough soup. We're not even sure like what's what in there. It doesn't really help either that all these names. UFC's been kind of clever in that, like giving Brazilian fighters nicknames as their actual last name and just saying, yeah, this is their last name, when there's no one in the entire country of Brazil named Korea. But this guy kind of has a cheap gimmick and something going for him, but now he's got the performances to kind of make that gimmick worth something and make that gimmick a little bit more known. So I'm kind of happy to see it. I think we could use, some new young stars, or even just some like named guys who can get into some good scraps. And I think Oliveira can be that for the next 2-3 years.
Sure. I mean, like we keep talking about, we like watching this guy fight. That's the battle right there, right? We are talking about this guy. There's so many nondescript UFC fighters right now. Oh, yeah, Brazilian cowboy. Yeah, he's not quite, Cerrone cowboy, but hey, I'd watch him fight. That's the level he's connecting on right now. So put him against someone that has a bit of a following. Let's see if he's at that level. Let's see if he can, continue to win the hearts and minds that way.
And I also think that there's a big future in that style of fighting in mixed martial arts right now. Brazilian guys, so his jiu-jitsu game's just enough to kind of keep him out of danger when he needs to, just enough ground proficiency to kind of keep it in his world of Muay Thai. And, this Muay Thai style is, in so many ways, especially those lighter weight classes, the most effective, stand-up art. You still see so many people, relying on traditional boxing technique and only really using the hands. There's no elbows. Their clinch game is non-existent or enough to just create separation. But these guys kind of who emulated and took a little bit of the cowboy style, a guy like TJ Dillashaw who has that Muay Thai style with maybe a lot of extra footwork that we don't usually see in Muay Thai. This style I just keep seeing more and more in MMA, just a guy who's proficient enough to keep it in the stand-up realm. And is really able to succeed, mostly because the UFC wants to push people who are going to have action fights and KO fighters.
Sure.
Yeah, so I really think that we'll see more and more fighters move into the style, and I think that his style complements becoming a star in the sport right now very well.
I agree with that. I love seeing the clinch, the knee to the body, and then the short elbow with the downward trajectory to carve a guy up. That is like one of my favorite combinations in the sport right now. More and more guys are getting hip to it. And yeah, it's really fun to watch rather than just the traditional boxing stance with 4-ounce gloves, because with the 4-ounce gloves, there's so many holes in that, right? But if you're doing Muay Thai, you've got the power of the points, as they call it. There's so much more you can do with that. And I think Alex Oliveira is a great example of that. And I think you're right. That's going to be one of his keys to his success, both as a fighter and at the box office going forward.
Yeah, and that's really important when the UFC's cutting so many guys. Before the fight before this, we had Rashad Magomedov beat up Gilbert Burns, and it was, in my mind, a pretty clear beatdown there. Took all the rounds. Kind of one of these fights where you saw someone be dominant, but not really going after the finish. What do we think about the Russians' performance here? Is it Ukrainian? Russia, Ukraine?
Dagestani, I guess, is the proper term. He's from one of those breakaway republics.
Just a mean place.
Yeah,
mean, hard people.
You know what the toughest job in the world is? being working at the fucking tourist bureau for Dagestan. Nobody wants to go there. You know what I mean? But guys who are from there fight like they're going to be sent back there, and that makes them very, very dangerous. Okay.
This is this is my discovery over the week. I found out that Rashid Magomedov has a degree from the Dagestani Agricultural Academy. So that means if this shit doesn't work out for him, he's plowing the fields in Dagestan.
Yeah, he will fuck you or farm you, one or the other, man.
And you know what? Honestly, a lot of guys want to poo-poo him for not having the finishing instinct, but the guy's legit as hell and completely risk adverse. He is just a really, really intelligent fighter. Throws very accurate combinations. Looks really good in determining how much space he needs to land his stuff and to get out of the way of your shots. Now, does that mean that a lot of times he's not pressing the action as much as other fighters are? Yeah, it does. Yeah. But he's literally minimizing his damage constantly, which, is good for career longevity.
Yeah, well put. Like we were just talking about Alex Oliveira's style being very box office friendly. I don't know that Magomedov's style would be box office friendly, but from a technical perspective, he's doing everything right. Like he's making sure he does not get hit and he's hitting someone else. Would I have liked to see him go for the finish? Yeah, because it looked like he could have got it, But yeah, again, he's thinking about, what? If I don't win this fight, I'm going back home and they're going to have me like, planting soy or some fucking shit, right? So he's thinking to himself, okay, I want to go. I want to cash my check. I want them to keep bringing me back so I can make more money and feed my 19 kids and cousins and everything else.
Naturally. I think that's all really that needs to be said about this fight. Just a real technical battle. Poor Gilbert Burns. Not that untalented of a dude. Just not
wrong
all
place,
that.
Wrong time.
Yeah, terrible matchup, really.
Yeah.
So it ended as it should have. And then the opening card on the FS1 main card was Corey Anderson beasting 25-8. How many hours are you beasting out there in Taiwan? What's a full hour's beasting?
I'm only beasting 24/7, 24 hours a week, 7 months a year.
You have to understand how fucking lazy you sound to Corey Anderson. You're living in the actual time. You can't pull your consciousness outside of the time-space continuum.
Oh my God. That's how he does it. And it seems literally impossible.
It's almost as if he's beasting so much. He's beasting so much that we were like, damn, how much more is he beasting? It's like a whole day's worth. It's a whole extra day's worth. And then someone else was like, no, it's a whole nother day's worth and a whole nother hour's worth of beasting.
So much beasting. But it's, can you imagine if this guy gets a title shot? He's going to be beasting 26-9.
Stop.
Bruce is going to have to say that out loud. And that would be like literally the low point of his career. You could just read in his eyes like, my God, my life has come to this. Where did I go wrong?
Did you notice that John Anik, I think very intentionally said his nickname multiple times? He wants everyone to know that beasting 25-8 is a real thing.
He said it so much that I'm pretty sure it was a drinking game.
Oh, if you had beasting 25-8 in your drinking game, you are blackout.
Yeah.
You are vomiting tonight. Because of
it's just early afternoon here, and I'm still a little fuzzy from it.
If you were dumb enough to, have made the rule like, hey, shotgun your beer every time you hear a beast in 25-8, thinking they're going to say it twice. Oh, no. There's at least 6 out there.
Jeez.
The most obnoxious thing about the name I realize now isn't even the 25-8 thing. It's just like the term beasting. It's so early 1990s.
Yeah, I have a friend who I won't mention his name, but every time someone does anything good, oh, he's a beast. He's a beast. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, what is he? What is he? Is he one of the Thundercats? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
There's nearly every mammal is a beast. Do you know what I mean? Every human being that exists on this earth, you are a beast. You are a human.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm beasting right now. Just sitting on this fucking couch talking to you, if we're talking in the literal terms.
Yeah, no, beasting 25/8 isn't all that impressive when you view it through that lens. Everyone's already beasting 24/7. You're only doing 1 other hour and 1 other day? That's bullshit, dude.
Yeah, it's just a little more beasting when you're looking at it like that. Oh, he's beasting a little more. Oh, way to go, buddy.
If you're beasting like 250 and 48, now you're fucking getting it done.
Yeah, now you've sold me.
But that just seems like that's how much you beast normally in like a 2-month span. You're just like, yeah, it's typical amount of work to do. Okay, let's stop talking about this nickname. Because I will keep doing it.
That fight though, really?
I will keep doing it for 20 minutes, and I'm probably the only person who thinks it's entertaining.
I'm with you, buddy.
Too. Good, okay. Corey Anderson beat the piss out of Fabio Maldonado, and he didn't do the normal gross-looking takedown, throw to the mat thing. Is Corey Anderson's game evolving? Question mark.
No. No, not even a little.
The finality of that statement was beautiful. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, let's face it. This is the perfect matchup for a guy like Corey Anderson. Fabio Maldonado couldn't stop a takedown if his mother's life was on the line. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, we knew exactly what was going to happen going into this fight. Takedown, clinch, wash, repeat. This was built for Corey Anderson, to win. He did. Good on him. He did exactly what he wanted to do. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on the guy because that was the performance he needed to do right there. But I don't know. It didn't really show me anything because, yeah, you might as well, take down my 2-year-old, like, congratulations. What did you do?
Well, if I took down your 2-year-old, what I just did was sign myself up for maybe like 6 years imprisonment. Oh, but it's Canada, so like I get off with 3 with good behavior.
She's got a nasty armbar. I'm going to tell you that right away. Even for a toddler, she's
that Ronda Rousey gets in them young, man.
Yeah. She's so excited. She, like Ronda fights at the end of the month. Who fights this month? Chloe. Ronda. She actually yells it. She gets all excited for it, eh?
My favorite thing about that Ronda Rousey fight and the phenomenon of young women watching Ronda Rousey is there's going to be a lot of girls watching pay-per-view parties, and they're going to have to be subjected to Mark Hunt fighting Bigfoot Silva. Talk about a scorn shit for a bunch of teenage girls. That's the most MMA thing ever,
Bigfoot right there.
It's like, hey, female empowerment, Ronda Rousey against.
Yes.
Let's see this happen. First, let's turn this on, girls. It'll be on in an hour and something. And just watching gargantuan Mark Hunt throwing bungalows on a giant, retarded-looking Brazilian man.
Wait. I didn't know Andre the Giant was still alive. What's going on? Are we watching boxing? What is this?
If we could get a video footage of all their faces, like while they try to digest that happening, good lord, that would be the YouTube video of the century. Fuck this show. Just if that existed, I would say turn off this show and turn my feed into just that constantly.
Yeah.
If we have the technology to make that happen.
I was going, yeah, Ronda Rousey. What the fuck am I watching?
Mark Hunt's fat ass gut while he throws, fucking haymakers from hell. Nothing better.
Yeah. Nothing better.
What were we talking? Okay, we're talking about Corey Anderson, but we've talked about him enough. He won.
Talking about his nickname some more?
No.
No.
All right, let's talk about these prelim fights. I don't want to go through every single one of them, but I think there's some good shit.
All right.
Good. I'll give you maybe a rundown on the ones you didn't see.
All right.
There was some good shit though. Johnny Case was in a showcase fight and kind of. Hell, we'll do it like this. I'll give my view on it. You tell me if I'm fucking up or if you're with me. Johnny Case wins a fight that he almost gave away and should have won easily.
Okay. Yeah, probably. I didn't see it, but he's not living up to his Mortal Kombat namesake. So, come on, wear some sunglasses, dude. Do something, give me something to care about here. But
Johnny Case.
James Lynch is a big Johnny Case guy. So, you know, like I heard he won by like underwhelming decision. You're kind of confirming that. So it's like, you know, I don't know. I guess it's a placeholder, all things considered.
Okay, Johnny Case is one of is missing out the most maybe out of any MMA personality to do something dope with his name. He could be Johnny, you know, go with the Mortal Kombat theme. 1, it's right there. 2, you could make your nickname Mental. Then you're Johnny Mental Case. Come on. Like, do I have to spell shit out for everyone? You know what? Here's the thing. MMA managers out there, I know you watch this show regularly. What I want you to do is contact me on Twitter. I will consult for you guys for a fairly low profile of your fighter up. Trust me, with just a couple tweaks, you can engage nerds in this sport, and they're going to love you. Johnny Mental Chase sells 10 times the amount of units as Hollywood Chase.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to pay money to see a Mental Case fight? I mean, look how well bum fights do, you know?
Oh,
give me a Mental Case any day of the week.
You know, but then he comes out to the cage wearing like a straitjacket, et cetera, et cetera. I don't need to tell you all the details, but it's written out.
Style. Have him like chained to the
Wheel
fucking wheel him out. Right, exactly. Perfect. I love it, dude. You've already got my $50.
Dog, you just made the pay-per-view. You're getting a piece of the pie now. You're gonna get points on the package. All right.
And then he like after he knocks the guy out, he gives him lotion.
You win. You're the best. All right. Okay. So you didn't watch any of the prelims?
No, not really. I was still in my wake up mode at that point. Perfect. Yeah.
We'll do it in a completely different fashion then. Do you know the results?
Yeah, I glanced at them. I know Viscardi Andrade won, and I picked against him just because, I don't know, I'm not sold on that guy, and I thought Umalatov was going to do some damage, but I was wrong. Shit happens.
I'm 100% with you on that. I picked Umalatov to win this fight, too. I really think that this fight was all about Umalatov not fighting. He really has the technical skills, and he had the technical skills to win this battle. And he showed it a little bit in the third. But he just like didn't enact a game plan, you know? He just got kind of in that mode of reaction and like, you know, just kind of being there and just like not firing away on offense. Viscardi, I wasn't all that impressed with. He got the victory and he deserved the victory and the score was fine. But Umalatov looked like a dude who could fight really great, but just doesn't and has that kind of deer in the headlights thing going on.
Yeah, and maybe that's just going to Brazil too, because there's been so many people who keep telling me that going and fighting in Brazil is different than fighting anywhere else. Like, your weight's not quite right, the food isn't quite right, you don't feel quite right going into the cage. I mean, a lot of what I base the Viscardi Andrade's, in my opinion, on him is that Bristol Morindi fight. Bristol Morindi, if he's healthy, kicks the fucking shit out of Viscardi Andrade, I'm sorry to say, okay? But the fact of the matter is he took a dodgy IV. He had 100 and whatever degree fever. He was puking on the way to the cage. Like, if you give me a healthy Bristol, like, seriously, I'd bet everything I've ever owned on that. Viscardi Andrade just doesn't impress me much. It doesn't sound like he did much to change his opinion in that fight.
Yeah. If you want to know my opinion on the entire fight, I tweeted directly after they cut both of these fighters. So that's where I'm at when it comes to these guys. Able to Legacy might get one of them. All right. So Gleison Tebow fought Abel Trujillo in a matchup that I thought was really.
Wait! I don't know what happened. Let me guess.
Okay, guess. I
Tebow
love
by
this.
decision.
Tebow
by decision. Right?
Incorrect.
No.
Gleison Tebow by submission in the
Really?
first round. Super early.
Shit.
Oh, man. This is something to check out. In a very controversial call, the ref comes in and stops it because he has him in this awkward choke. Abel Trujillo, in a shocking development, didn't have all that much fight IQ and put himself in a bad position. Let Gleison Tebow kind of take his back there for a moment. He has this choke. I'm sorry?
It's okay. He'll take it out on his girlfriend later.
Oh. So wrong, but so true. Abel Trier really is a piece of shit.
Yep.
You kind of deserve it, Abel Trier. You're a dog shit human. So he's going out and he's giving like the kind of deep breathing face, but like it's getting scrunched up and kind of looking like, oh, this isn't going so hot for him. But definitely didn't tap it. Definitely wasn't out. And he kind of almost makes a move to escape the choke. He's probably in the best position he's been in for a while. And the ref instantly just like kind of stops it because he sees like his arms like not really moving around all that much. So it was a very bizarre stoppage. I think it was some Brazilian dude. Maybe it was Mario. I should really pay attention to shit better. But
was it Flexi?
Flexi?
Yeah, I don't know the guy's name, but the guy always makes sure to like pump up right before the fight.
Oh. It's hilarious because I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, I forget his fucking name. Like the guy that had the horrible stoppage in the Steven Siler fight. Like he clearly doesn't know what he's doing, but he loves being on TV because he gets to oil himself up and show off his muscles.
Dude 100% has like one of those like rubber band things, and he puts it down and like gets a quick buff before his fights get up there. He doesn't meet with the fight. He sits in his own dressing room, making sure he looks small. He has to do a weight cut before his fight. Exactly.
I'm gonna be on TV, bro. I need to pump up.
Dog, I haven't eaten a carbohydrate in 3 weeks. I'm ready to ref these fights.
Right. I've been cutting weight so hard for this show.
Yeah, so it was a shitty stoppage. Maybe it was Flexi, maybe it was Mario Yamasaki. Maybe I just, hallucinate Mario every time I see something stupid happen by a referee in the UFC. But nonetheless, it was a dumb stoppage. I didn't think that it was going any other way because if you followed Abel Trier, you know that if shit ain't going well for him, he kind of checks out a little mentally there. And I felt like that was happening in this fight, whether that choke finished him or not. Oh, you know what else happened in this? And this is a bizarre thing, and I think I want to talk about it in general a little bit. Clay Guida lost very early to a guillotine choke by Thiago Tavares. Question, what the fuck is Clay Guida against Thiago Tavares doing, like, on the second fight on the prelims to a FS1 card?
That's actually a great question. I mean, if you're using this fight to boost Thiago Tavares' profile, you're kind of burying it, right? I mean, I'm not the biggest Clay Guida fan, but he's definitely got a fan base that people know who he is, right?
Motherfuckers, so recognize that face. You put this in Bellator, that's a goddamn main event. That's a Scott Coker main event all day.
Yeah, that says more about Bellator than it says about the UFC, to be honest with you. But yeah.
But the point being is,
can we talk about this Shamrock Gracie 3? Really? Is this happening?
It is. What's funny is that we're going to watch it, too. That's the funniest part of it all.
We are. But, like, how long have we been around? Like, we're fucking old men in this sport. Like, Ken Shamrock has kind of kept his legacy alive just because, like, people know Ken Shamrock more from his, like, late UFC run against Tito, like, the Tito 2 and Tito 3 fights, than they know him from back in the day or whatever. Does anyone in 2015 really remember Royce Gracie other than us idiots that are fucking spent way too much time on this shit?
But it's the name. The name exists. He's a trivia question. It's like the Gracie family, and they're always talking about the Gracies and shit. You know?
Why not Ken Shamrock fight Alex Trebek then?
I would buy that pay-per-view too, and thankfully Bellator wouldn't have to because it'd be free on Friday nights.
That's right. Trebek is wiry. He's deceptively strong.
Alex,
and they're having Kimbo fighting. I don't know who the fuck is Dada 5000. I thought he was an outcast.
That's good, but yeah, I actually, if you're gonna go completely off the fucking reservation here, man, Dada 5000 works for me. Like, don't even market him as an actual name, Dada 5000. I don't mind if you change your name to like make it sound fighterish, but when you start adding like ridiculous numbers, like Dada 5000. Like 5,000 what? 5,000 what? 5,000 what, Carlin? I don't get it, dude.
That's even more than Beeson 25-8.
If you 25 divided by 8 is only like 3.2 or something like that. 5,000. So
Data 5,000 would kill Corey.
We're talking about 5,000 here, Carlin. There's so many.
It is. It's a lot, man. I've never done 5,000 of anything in my life that I can recall.
What if it was literally that he's data 5,000 because he's the data to 5,000 children?
Oh, he is from Florida.
These dudes in Miami don't know how to operate a condom. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. No mas.
Oh, God. Yeah, so...
I don't know who he is. Can you actually explain to me? This is a legit question. I have no idea who 5,000 is. I was kind of kidding when I said I thought he was an outcast, but not really, because I don't know who the fuck he is.
No, he's from Miami, not Atlanta. This is actually funny, because I'll tell you who he is, who I think he is, based on just maybe some readings that I might have done and forgotten. So I think that Data 5000 is famous for being a part of a VHS or an early, distributed VHS tape thing of backyard fighting, kind of like what Kimbo Slice did, except that Kimbo Slice's shit was on YouTube and everyone could see him real easily. Data 5000 started on YouTube and then was like, wait a second, I gotta stop putting my fucking fights on YouTube and start selling these shits, VHS style. Now, how much of that is actually the truth, and how much of that is shit that I imagined in my brain and that I want Dada 5000 to be about? That's for the viewers to decide, really. But that's what I think. That's where I think Dada 5000 is. I think he's one of these street brawlers, kind of in the same vein as Kimbo Slice.
Why not fucking just bring back Sean Gannon at this point? I mean, what the fuck is Bellator doing? I don't mind the Legends circuit. I'm gonna be honest with you, because you and I are both old school guys. We kind of get a kick out of the old matchups. I get that. Holy shit, dude! We are literally at the point. I'm not a young guy. We are literally at the point where I'm watching guys my father's age fight, and it's I don't feel comfortable with that anymore.
It's so fucking true. The combined age of the combatants in that fight is over 100.
Jesus, fuck! This is why my dad is sitting at home in Trenton, Ontario right now in his easy chair, going, you know what? Maybe if I trained a little bit, I could do this. Maybe
that's the plan. They're shooting after the 45 plus demographic, bro. They're shooting after these guys who want to take TRT replacements and get out there, hit the gym a little bit, go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and think that they're going to be a hero.
Honestly, if fucking Bellator booked Ed O'Neill in a fight, I would watch the shit out of that. I would pay money for that, actually.
Are we willing to pay for the senior PGA version of MMA?
Yeah. That to me is more interesting than Ken Shamrock and Hoist Gracie 3. Because what has Hoist Gracie done since UFC 60, which drew a lot of eyeballs, but that was literally 10 years ago, right? So what? Who remembers Hoist Gracie? And I'm not saying that to denigrate the man. The Hoist Gracie is the reason I started watching this shit in the first place. Don't know how many people in 2015 that watch current UFC know who the fuck Hoist Gracie is.
I think all the most old school guy that people know, your typical fan, you interview one of these momos and you ask who's the oldest, most old school fighter you know. They're going to tell you Chuck Liddell, because old school to them is not the era that is old school to people who remember UFC 1 when you bought it on VH or when you rented it via VHS tape from fucking Blockbuster Video or your Canadian equivalent. Yeah, that's how you consume the sport.
Yeah, seriously, you ask people at old school now, they'll tell you Chuck or Tito. Those are the two names that come up, right?
Yeah, it's just...
Holy shit, fucking... Did you see yesterday when, when people were speculating that Fedor was going to fight Tyoshi Kosaka on New Year's Eve? And people are actually saying, who the fuck is Tyoshi Kosaka? I'm like, I weep for this. You know what I mean?
Which makes a lot of sense, actually. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I'd watch it, because it's Japan. I got to view it through that lens, right? But, Fedor or TK would be great, but, all these people who apparently are, quote-unquote MMA journalists are who's Tyoshi Kosaka? I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? It's not just guy off the street. Guy off the street not knowing who TK is, that's fine. Someone who's actually fucking, trying to do this for a living or some form of support, not knowing who TK is It's like, dude, just like fucking. I'm sure fucking these fights are on Fight Pass or something, man. Like, get it together.
Literally,
Well,
get your Google together. Because if you're going to be a journalist, at least Google.
Yeah, my God, man.
This is
terrible.
Your argument's really more of just like, if you're going to be a journalist, learn how to Google.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm wrong.
No, I like that matchup. It makes a lot of sense in Japan. I mean, clearly it's New Year's Eve, so I ain't watching that shit live. You know, an American, I'm not gonna fucking watch fights, you know, during New Year's Eve. I'm gonna go to like an actual event with a party. Yeah, but will I watch the next day hungover? It's kind of like a curiosity. Sure, of course, it's Fedor Emelianenko. Jesus Christ, man, come on.
Yeah, and you know, like when it was announced or like rumored that he was going to fight that Indian dude, you know, that had business fighting a guy like Fedor. But you know, I saw so many people saying, you know, this completely destroys Fedor's legacy. You know what I mean? Like, did you think of Wayne Gretzky as the guy who spent his last year with the New York Rangers, or the guy that like won all the cups in Edmonton and like took LA to the finals? Do you remember Michael Jordan as a guy that was like king shit for like fucking 50 his last year with the Washington Wizards? You know what I mean? Like, no one remembers the end. Do you remember Muhammad Ali as the guy that fucking lost to Trevor Berbick for fuck's sakes? No. Do you remember the guy that lost that fucking big Irish goon at the end of his career? I can't even remember his name. McBride. Right? Like, it's, my God, like, fucking learn Google. You can Google the word legacy and know what it means.
No, here's the thing. Like, I'm not sure, the people who claim, like, this is ruining Fedor's legacy, it's like, I don't think you know what Fedor's legacy is, because he's been fighting weird people in Japan. That's what his legacy is. Just, like, fight random Japanese, you know, opponents. Oh, this opponent isn't as good enough. Like, Fedor beat up some fucking cans back in the day. Pride will set him up with some people and just be like, whatever, yeah, let Fedor truck the shit out of this guy. Oh, give this guy 2 days notice and then have Fedor fuck him up. Yeah, sure. We just need Fedor on a card to make some goddamn money. You know? Everyone wants to point to these elite ones. He beat fantastic people. I'm not questioning that. He's the, you know, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. And undefeated in a way that, not that the way John Jones is, that John Jones is undefeated and you expect him to win every fight. There's a lot of those fights that you're like, fuck, Fedor's done in this one. How's he ever going to figure this out? He's undersized. He's out-techniqued. This guy's got better boxing. This guy's got better grappling. We didn't know as much about the sport, honestly, as we do now. Like, I remember thinking Andrei Arlovsky was going to beat Fedor. You know, like, genuinely thinking it. Thinking, like, there's no way this doesn't happen. Shit, he's fucked this time, you know? And that's after how many times that he'd won, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you got that beautiful mid-air KO out of it, you know? That was a high-scale moment, you know? Like, it was – and Fedor, yeah, he beat the best there was at the time there was. And honestly, the heavyweight division back 10 years ago, fucking way more stacked than it is now, okay? Let's call a spade here, right? Yeah. So, like, and I don't care that he's taking payday fights to defeat Starry Oskal. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect my life at all. So what the fuck do I care? That's not his legacy. His legacy is, you know, like you said, trucking the shit out of fucking Big Nog when Big Nog was king shit. You know what I mean? His legacy is against Crow Cop, which may be the best MMA fight of all time. That's his legacy. You know, beating people up for money now is just something he does because, you know what, he's got mouths to feed.
Well, you know what? This is the thing. Everyone wants to talk about Fedor's legacy, but right now he's building his real legacy. He's transitioning from a retired fighter to a rich Russian oligarch. And to make that happen, you got to make a couple payday fights from the Japanese, bro. You got to do a couple underhanded deals. You got to invest in some shady government, you know, companies. You got to get your man Putin, but you got to kick in a couple dollars to hang around Putin because he ain't hanging around for free. So that means you got to go beat up Vijay Singh, or whoever the fuck this dude's name is, in Japan on New Year's Eve. And we all got to watch it out of just damn sheer reverence. Morbid curiosity is yours. That's your motivation. Mine was sheer reverence to the last emperor, but you're like, nah, just we want to see some freaky shit, man.
Yeah, I'm in Taiwan now. I'm all about freaky shit, so like that's what's happening. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like in 20 years from now, Fedor could be Putin. Like he's kind of laying that trail, right? He's getting more and more involved with the Russian state. He's now he's running. I don't know. I have to ask my buddy Kareem Zidane to correct me here, but he's doing something with the Ministry of Sport. Like he's getting more and more involved in actual Russian politics. And Jesus Christ, if Fedor ever becomes like the Russian leader, we're all fucked. Because Fedor is just going to go to the table and say, "I want this," and Western leaders will say, "Well, no, that makes no sense." And Fedor will just stare at them until they go, "Okay."
Yeah, he fucking power bombs someone during a diplomatic session. Diplomatic session fucking over.
He'll just get that weird dead-eye look, and then fucking people will be like, "Yeah, okay, just take whatever you want. Just leave me alone, please."
And he's not even upset. He's just like, that's his version of smiling.
Yeah.
Here's the last thought that I'll leave you on Fedor Emelianenko. Ponder this. It may be possible that Vladimir Putin is grooming Fedor Emelianenko for future technology so that he can, transmit his consciousness into Fedor's body.
Could be. Do you think Putin's that Rasputin-esque?
Yes. Listen, I can view Russian politics from the comfortable distance of the cushiness of the United States of America. So in my mind, he is a Rasputin-esque character. He belongs to a bizarre Christian, slash occult sect that will raise people from the dead, will do mind swap-esque shit. Or if not, he at least has a dude in his squad who's in charge of Rasputin-like activities.
The KGB Minister of Rasputin-esque.
If that isn't a real thing, I'd be very shocked.
Yeah. And what's funny about Putin, too, is like, whatever you want to say about the guy, and there's a lot we can fucking throw shit on for, but, like, he's a legit tough guy. Like, I don't know if you follow Canadian politics at all, but we just booted out Stephen Harper, who was our leader for 10 years. He liked to think he was a tough guy. So, like, in one of these international meetings, he decided to actually, like, get in Putin's face and say, "You need to get out of Ukraine, or I'm going to do something." And as Canada, as a nation, we kind of look back and go, "Oh, I don't know if that was the best idea." Because all of a sudden, there's all these Russian, like, Arctic patrols around our land now. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, don't bring a knife to a fucking gunfight.
Yeah, Russia's like, oh, you would... Here's the thing. It's like, in Canadian politics, if you insult the Prime Minister, like, everyone in Canada is going to be like, damn, they insulted our Prime Minister. That's fucked up. And if you insult Putin, he's the decision maker. So he's like, yo, start patrolling that whole fucking country. If they guy says shit to me, we're nuking the fuck out of them. Right? Everyone's down with this? No one's arguing with me at all? Okay, good, because I am the czar, just in case you didn't know.
Yes, the table go, yes, yes, yes. Da, da.
Yeah. But no, big ups to Canada for going a little liberal.
Baby Trudeau now. I moved at the fucking wrong time. Weed's going to be legal in Canada, and it's super legal in Taiwan. Where the fuck did I go?
You fucked up so hard, you don't even get it, man.
It was way off.
Keep that passport active, brother. Keep that passport active. We will want you home to the motherland sooner or later.
That's right.
All right, let's put a bow on this thing. Let's talk about the card, just the main card. Where do we rank it? I know maybe Canadians don't use a letter grading system in their schools, but in America we do. A being the best, F being the worst. What do you give it?
I give it a solid B, man. Like, I was happy with watching the cards. I was entertained. I only watched the main card. It wasn't a slog for me to get through. Yeah, I was happy. Stoppages, some impressive performances. Thomas Almeida looked great. That's I think my biggest takeaway from the whole thing. But no, I was happy watching this card. I don't know that I would have paid money for it, but for free entertainment, good God, y'all, you got me.
Yeah. As an MMA fan, I have to say that it was a solid card. It was on free television. It existed. I give it a very solid B. The only detriment I had for the main card was the Corey Anderson fight, which I found to just be excruciating at some point. And then the Magomedov fight was a solid fight.
to get through that fight.
Yeah, I missed what you said. It was terrible to get. Yeah, that was a nightmare fight.
Yeah. But we beasted. We got through it.
Corey's beasting, and we're all beasting with him. Maybe that's the extra day and hour. It's all of our collective beasting. Like he draws from the power of our beast and gets a whole nother day and an hour. There it is.
Yeah.
Figuring it out. Fucking beasting 25-8. 32 extra hours of beasting. And then Magomedov kind of brought it back to like, okay, good, this is good UFC quality fights. And we had 4 spectacular KO finishes, each one better than the last, culminating in kind of a predictable Vitor Belfort KO that was still kind of exciting. So I was happy with the night of fights overall. Anything else that you wanted to mention about the night of the fights?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I think the biggest stories of the week are, Shamrock and Gracie, which we already talked about and lamented, and Nick Diaz, copping a plea, or rumored to be copping a plea, 18 months suspension and a $100K fine, which, people are saying, oh, good, he's going to be back, but I still think it's fucking ridiculous for a test result that is dodgy at best.
Yeah, it is kind of like Las Vegas raping the system, but sometimes you got to pay the man when the man demands it. Pay the toll, and I think it's ultimately a good thing for Nick, because I think he's got like 2 more fights in him, and they're probably all multi-million-dollar paydays. So I'll even look forward to a Nick Diaz fight. I hope he gets a good matchup this time, not something that he's going to lose. Every one of his last fights, we know he's going to lose.
But those are the fights he wants. He said he only wants to do fucking big fights. He only wanted to do GSP. He only wanted to do Anderson Silva. And everyone laughed at him at the time. Dana White laughed at him at the time, said, what the hell are you doing? And then like, okay, yeah, Nick, we kind of want you to do these fights. Okay? Like, it's,
Stockton,
Stockton, what? Stockton, what? Like fucking, I don't know, maybe Nick's going to go to fucking New Year's Eve against Fedor. Who knows, man?
Oh my God, that would be legend. That would be a BJ-esque legendary move.
That would. I love it.
I'd bet Nick Diaz. I would bet a couple dollars on Nick Diaz. Not a lot of them. Not a lot of them. $10. I may extend the limits of my spending a bit. Multitudes of $10 bills on Nick Diaz.
I'm playing the lottery over here. I'm actually playing through a proxy because as a non-resident, I'm not allowed to win money in Taiwan. But I'm playing through a proxy. You can play Powerball there. When one of our numbers hits, the 2 of us are going to start the biggest freak show fight circuit ever.
Nice. I will be there as your ring announcer. I assume you can pay my. You can fly me in and pay my per diem, of course.
Hopefully the Taiwanese lottery covers that. I don't know.
Okay. All right, man. Why don't you tell the people where they can hear from you, how they can interact with you, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you can find me on the Twitter at Carlin Bardsley. If you don't know how to spell my name, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. It's we can talk about face punching, we can talk about beer, we can talk about Guns N' Roses, Asian women, Canadian politics, all the good stuff. And also check me out on MMAoddsbreaker.com. Every week we have the Parting Shot podcast with me and James Lynch. It's James Lynch dropping stone cold concrete analysis and me being a goddamn smart ass. So, it's always fun. But yeah, MMAoddsbreaker.com or at Parting Shot MMA.
All right, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for taking it on such a late notice. I very much appreciate it, Carlin. And if you have never checked out the Party Shop podcast, I would highly suggest it. Shout out to James Lynch. I was actually very complimentary of him on Twitter earlier today, which is rare for me. But yeah, James is a real or a real pro, and I really appreciate you guys' podcast. I'm a really big fan of it. Once again, thank you for coming on the show. Everybody, thank you for watching. As always, I really appreciate everyone who supports the show, who tweets out this link, and who gets this in front of new eyeballs, because I really like doing it, and I really like having people actually watch it. So thank you all. And once again, thank you to Carlin all the way in Taiwan for coming on late notice. This has been Before the Bald Man Speaks. Thank you so much. I'm out. Peace.